Hi friends, Shannon here, creative crew member for Katscrappiness, here with a quick and easy card to use up some of your pattern papers and particularly to use up your scraps from your pattern paper. Now, I don't have any scraps for this pattern paper, so what I'm going to show you is how, if you don't have scraps but you want to use this technique, you can cut up your pattern paper but still save the size for a 4 1/4 5 by 5.5 inch mat if you want to use the cardstock in the future. So let me show you how I'm going to cut this up. Oh, one more thing. The cardstock, the double-sided premium cardstock I'm using today is called Be My Valentine, and then I'm using a stamp and die set from Katscrappiness called Say It With Hearts, and this has a outline heart and a solid heart and all of these different sentiments that you can stamp on the inside of it to look like those little conversation hearts, and then also a Happy Valentine's Day at the bottom. So I'm going to walk you through this twice of how you would cut your 6x6 down so that you can create the strips that we're going to use to create our background, and also end up with a remaining 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of your pattern paper that you can use as a mat on a future card. So I'm going to, on my trimmer, I'm going to cut at 1/2 inch. And again, this is from 6x6 cardstock, or 6x6 pattern paper. And then I'm going to cut at 4 1/4 inches. And it's important that you make your first cut created at 4 1/4 inches from a full 6-inch length cardstock, just to give you the largest scrap. I'll show you what I mean when when we get there. So I'm going to cut this down to 4 1/4, and that will give us a 1 1/4 inch scrap that we're going to use as part of our background. And then we're going to cut down to 5.5. And that gives us a full size mat if we want to use this on a future card. So let me do that one more time. We're going to cut 1/2 inch. Then 4 1/4. And that gives us our 1 1/4 inch. Oh, I cut it at, I thought that was big. I cut it at 4 inches. So you're supposed to cut it at 4 1/4, but let's continue anyways, as if I cut it at 4. That's okay. Okay, so then 5.5 inches on the opposite edge. So I'm going to use this as part of my card design. It's a good thing that I only need it to be, I think I need it at 3 3/4, but nonetheless, my point was for you, with the measurements I gave you on the first cut, so that you end up with your 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch remaining cardstock, but you have your scraps. I'm going to cut this down because I only want this to be 1 1/4. So I'm going to cut that down smaller. There we go. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut little wedges. And so in order to do that, what you do is you put your right-hand corner of your cardstock, your upper right-hand corner, into your little track here, and then your bottom left-hand corner into the track. And then we're going to close our little, oh, I want to move my blade down. Close the door. If it happens, because it is a small scrap, if it happens to move, just look in to your track and make sure that's still lined up, and slide. And this is what we want our scraps to look like. Set that aside. Do that one more time with our other scrap. Oops, moved. Okay. There we go. So I've done this with a total of 6 sheets of cardstock, or 6 sheets of pattern paper. I keep calling it cardstock. And I'll stack these up here like this. And we are going to, we need a white or a solid piece of cardstock. I'm using a 100-pound white cardstock. You can use lighter weight if you wish. I just personally like to use the 100-pound. And the measurements on this is 3.5 by 4 3/4. So 3.5 wide, 4 3/4 long. And I've marked the center of this along the 4 3/4, which is 2 3/8 inches from the outside edge to the center. And I marked it on both sides. And let's do a dry fit first. And what I'm going to do is, actually we don't need to do a dry fit. We have the center marked. I'm going to go ahead and wing it. So you're going to want to put glue down. That is the approximate size of your wedge, starting across the center, going from one mark to the other mark. And then just mimicking the area that represents that wedge. And we're going to decide how much of this we want to appear on our background design. And I want to get those stamped images, so I'm going to go beyond the edge of this white cardstock, leaving that much overlapping. And then we just go in order. If you want to, if you have several different designs, you can do a dry run and map out which ones you want, which wedges you want next to each other. Here I'm going to start so that the first white full heart is showing. And just butt that up next to that previous piece and repeat until you fill up your card base. And I do the top half. I always start with the top half and then repeat going in the opposite direction. This one we're going to, since this one doesn't have a design on it per se, we're just going to start closer to the tip of that. So that will leave more remaining for our design papers, more remaining area. And what you can do is you can do all the way, just start at the tip. You might need more papers, but gluing down the tip of your wedge to the edge of the cardstock. But I like to change it up a little bit. And by the way, this design was inspired by one of Scrappiness creative crew members named Bee. She is new to our team, and if you haven't seen any of her videos, you should check out on the Scrappiness channel. She has really detail-oriented tutorials and very adorable designs. She does a lot of Copic coloring that I'm really impressed with. So yeah, this design was inspired by a card she created. And I'm going to speed this up and let you listen to a little music. I'll interrupt if there's any details that I need to inform you of. Next, we're going to take our card, our wedgie background, and flip it over, and we're just going to cut right up to the edge of that white cardstock and cut everything that's overlapping. You might want to wait a few minutes for your glue to dry before you do make a cut so that your wedges don't pop off. Another tip that you can use when you're creating this, instead of doing duplicate of the designs the way I did, using 1/2 of the wedge on the top and 1/2 of the wedge on the bottom, you can flip it over and have a unique design all the way throughout your background. Since these are double-sided papers, you can do that. So here is our little background, and I'm going to bring in my trimmer again, and we're going to cut this down to 3 3/4 wide. Let's see, 3 3/4 wide by 5. Set that aside, and we're going to use that. This is the back of one of the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch mats that I created. I just cut that down smaller. We're going to let that mat this background, and then we'll use another one of the mats that I created my scraps from to add this entire piece to. I want to thank you so much for watching my video today. If you could, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the Cat Scrappiness channel. Also, if you are not already subscribed to the Cat Scrappiness newsletter, Cat sends out an email every Friday, I believe at 7 Pacific, and it contains a coupon code that is good for only those subscribed to the newsletter. Okay, here's our card, and I'm going to take this little tiny heart, or it's not little tiny, it's appropriately sized to be our focal point on our background here. There we go. Just pop that on there. And then I'm going to add one of these. This is called the Chocolate Covered Strawberry Sprinkle Mix, and it has white, brown, and pink hearts in it. And I'm going to use one of the brown hearts to match our card here. And we're going to just pop that onto, we're just going to do that right below, or actually, yeah, right below our sentiment. Oops. Stick. There we go. So now all I have to do is add it to a card base, and we're ready to go. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, leave a comment or an emoji in the comment section below the video. Also, all of the products that I used to create this card are located in the description box below. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.